Hi everybody, Hellcracks here, and welcome to another episode of Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 190. And today we're going to be delving into the Linebacker, that clan mech that's 65 tons. It's in the same category as the Hellbringer Loki, and it brings a little bit different skew to the mix compared to the older design of the Loki or Hellbringer. Because the Hellbringer has low armor, it's basically that's the glass cannon of the family. This one is bringing in, well, less firepower, but more armor with a little bit more speed. Okay, the Linebacker is 65 tons. It's a 690, but being clan mech with pod space, you can put jump jets on it if the commander wishes it. Has 14 double heat sinks with 192 points of armor. So yeah, this is like, well, let's see, 60 something more points of armor compared to the other. So yeah, I kind of like that. You know, it has ferrofibrous armor and endosteel. So they finally designed something that has all the bells and whistles. You know, it's like, if you're clans, why not put those two things on there? Just helps out in the long run. Unless you're an assault mech where you need all the pod space you can for putting all the weapons on. But, you know, it's a give and take there. Now, typically, I've used this mech quite a few times over the years. And I like it. Basically, it's one of these mechs that falls into the, well, it's a flanker, and it makes a good scout too for the tonnage. It well, not really what you consider a scout, you know, air quotes, but when you compare it to a lot of inner sphere mechs, this is one of those mechs, being it's a 6'9". It's in the same category for speed when it comes to like the Phoenix Hawk. So, but with more tonnage and more firepower. And it's one of those mechs that, you know, makes a great flanker, can get around. And since it has some decent speed, it also can fall into the anti-scout role. Not necessarily a scout, air quote. It does kind to, you know, it can be niched into that if necessary. You know, I found it works pretty good against inner sphere. Now against clan, well, then you got plenty of speedsters out there that can do the job a lot better than this mech will. But, you know, if you got a medium, you know, star of mechs running around that are in the 45 to, you know, 55 ton range, this would be a bad star leader, you know, star commander type mech. You know, brings a little bit of firepower plus some tonnage with it. Now, the primary configuration with this one is kind of a quandary with me in some ways. You know, this has an ERPPC in the right arm. It has an SRM4 streak in the right torso with a ton of ammo. Then it has another ERPPC in the left arm. And an LRM5 and ammo in the left torso. And an ER small laser in the right torso facing to the rear. So I guess if you're pulling out someplace, you got something to shoot. Or if you're doing a drive-by, you're shooting somebody that's farther on down, right, you know, that's in front of you, and you can always give them a plinky shot to the rear. But I've found that rear firing ER small laser has very few uses. But it's kind of a placeholder because it's got a half, you know, you got 17.5 tons of pod space. If you're looking at it and go, oh, I got a half a ton, well, I might as well put an ER small on here someplace. Right? I understand why it's there. So it makes a lot of sense why it's there. Just doesn't find a lot of usage. All right. Now, when I look at the primary configuration, the two ERPPCs, you got some good range with that, with some good damage. So if you're doing a flank attack and you're starting to hit somebody in the flanks, those two PPCs, you can fire them for a turn, you know, because you got 28 heat sinks. You can dissipate 28. The PPCs do 30. And then if you're running, you're up 4 on the heat scale. So you're looking at firing 2, then 1, 2, then 1, 2, and 1 type. Because you can fire the 2, next turn you want to cool off. Because being a mech that you want to speed with, you don't necessarily want to knock off your heat configuration, or knock your speed down for that matter. Now, when you look at, you got the LRM in there. Now, you got a ton of ammo with that thing. There is some options. Now, you could be using it for, say, special munitions or something of that nature. But typically, that's kind of one of those weapon systems that, you know, it's like, okay, why did they put it on there? You know, your head scratching. It's like when I first got this book years ago, when the because my book here came out fast. Let me look here real quick. This came out mid-90s, I think. Where's the 90? Nope, 92. Wow. Yeah, it came out in 92. So when it first came out, I was looking at that and going, why did they put a LRM-5 when you got the 2 PPCs? It's just like it, and then the adds it. So later on, when you start getting special munitions and stuff like that into the game, later on, after so many years, then it sort of makes sense why it's there now. But back then, it's like, okay, I'd rather have an SRM or something instead for some close work, or rip that thing out for a medium pulse laser or something and upgrade the small laser. But, you know, you just sit there and go, I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with this thing. So, but if you do fire it, you know, that the whole 2-in-1 thing goes out the door. So typically, you know, you might want to reconfigure this thing in a different way. Okay, then we got the, let's bring it up here, the alpha version. The alpha version of the Timberwolf is primary, like the primary version, with a pair of ER large lasers, an LRM-5 with an LRM-15, and it has 2 ER medium lasers. Now, the alpha version, when I look at that and go, why are we continually using the LRM-5? That thing could just be, it's like, you got a choice between using an LRM-15 and an LRM-5. Once again, it's like, okay, is this 1 ton of special munitions that you're thinking about using now? You know, instead of its primary role of doing damage. So, yeah, it's one of those head scratchers. You're going, why would I use it this way? But, you know, you're looking at between the LRM-15 and the 2 large lasers, it does have some good firepower going down range, but at the cost of, you know, you're looking at, you know, the heat, you know, configuration once again, where you're probably, you know, if you fired everything, you're going to have to either knock off a ER large laser 1 turn, go fire everything, knock off an ER large and fire, you know, back and forth type deal. And then if you get in closer, then obviously you're going to drop off a ER large in favor of the 2 ER medium lasers to balance out your heat to, you know, the same. It's the same sad story once again, you know. But, you know, if you're a good commander and you look at it and go, okay, what are my range brackets for how much heat do I create in this range bracket and this one? That's how I always look at my mechs, is like, how much heat can I create in this range bracket and how much can I dissipate? And then I try to give myself a firing solutions, like do this, then this, this, then this, or do all this, and then when I get into this neck, when I shut some off and add these other ones. So that's how you kind of have to look at a lot of stuff. The Bravo version, this one carries a Gauss rifle, and then it has 3 ER medium lasers and a single ER small laser. Now, to be honest with you, I'd rather use the Prime version over the Bravo version, just because you're carrying around a couple, you know, once again, just like I was saying, you fire these 2, then this one, and but the damage output is greater per turn with the, in one way, when you look at the two ERPPCs versus the Gauss rifle. So you're going 30, 15, 30, 15 when you're looking at that. And obviously it doesn't have to worry about that LRM5 anywhere on this one. But when you do get in closer, then you're looking at the output is going to be, yeah, it's a little bit different. But it's like you look at the Streak 4 armament on the Prime, you're looking at 8. And so, yeah, eventually you're looking at 38 versus 15 plus 26. Yeah, so it's probably the Prime's going to be, has a potential, if you want to cook yourself, you can do a lot more damage. But, I'm not that type of person. So when you get in close, the damage output can be constant, almost equal to the Prime, though, but a little bit less. To be honest with you, I think there's a better way to deal with all that. But some people like the Gauss rifle. Now, if the Gauss rifle had something where some type of we're just going into what ifs type thing, but if a Gauss rifle was it capable of doing more like critical type damage because of kinetic energy, but they never put that in the game, so it's a mute point. The Charlie version of the Linebacker, this one's armed with an Ultra 5 and a single ER large laser. All right, and then it has, for in close, it has 2 machine guns, and then it has a rear mounted flamer and a 4 ER medium lasers. So the damage output is pretty decent with this version, and then you're not worrying about a lot of heat with it either. But you got the 4 ER medium laser. Okay, if you're looking at long range, it's like you're looking at minimal. You're not ever near your heat capability, even if you took 2 engine hits. And then when you get in close, you got the 4 ER medium lasers and the autocannon. And if by chance you decide to shoot the flamer, it's like your heat isn't going to be it's going to be under the 28. It's just when those individuals start throwing in that ER large lasers, it's like, hey, I'm going to fire that too. And it's like, okay. You're looking at 32, 34, 37 heat. So you're getting into, cooking the mech type. You're up 9, 10, 11, But, if you're going for the glory, I guess if you want to cook yourself, that's possible. Now we got the Delta version. This one has 4 Streak 6s. If no one's ever faced 4 Streak 6s and they all connect, that's a lot of damage. So you're looking at some good smackdown, because if you got 6 of them, a Streak 6 is dishing out 12 damage, and you got 6 of those. That's a good amount just for something that's up close and personal. And then it's backed up by a couple ER medium lasers, which you're at another 7-point shots right there. And then it has the obligatory, ER small laser to the rear. And that does have 3 bins worth of ammo with that Streak 6s. Now that makes a pretty interesting configuration. So if you are one of those individuals that likes to go crit hunting, this is the mech for you, because it's like, all right, everybody gets hammers, let's say that assault mech, and opens up a few holes in it, and then you rush this thing in there, and it's the last thing to fire when it hits with all those streaks, and then the 2 ER medium lasers. Something's going through, or you're going to pick up some possible random crit hits here and there, or head hits. It's one of the, if you've never faced a mech that had 4 to 6 streaks on it, and they all connect, you don't know what hit you. That's not a bad one. That's what I call a paint scraper version. It's really good for the flanker that goes in and is the last to fire. Then you got the Echo version. This one has an ER large laser. You know, it's good range. I like the ER large, clan ER large lasers because it's something that shoots out a good distance. And then it has a pair of ATM 6s. It has long, medium, and short payloads because obviously it's carrying around 3 tons. And then it carries a active probe. And no, that's not bad. If you got something that's going into slight gray area scouting, a beagle probe, light probe, that does help out greatly to find something that's hidden if you're playing those type of campaigns. So it's one of those ones that this is a mech that has good long range capability and short range, but it's dealing it with that ATMs. But it may be one of those mechs that you like trying out sometime. And you got the Foxtrot version. This one has 4 SRM-6s, just a standard, with 3 tons of NARC ammunition between them. And it has an ERPPC for long range, and then it has a one-shot NARC beacon. Well, I'm never a fan of one-shot weapons, especially if you got it as a NARC beacon. I personally would look at trying to configure this one out as SRM-4s and use the extra tonnage left over from converting them from SRM-6 to SRM-4s to actually make it a NARC beacon. If you're going to run it with a NARC beacon, at least have ammunition with it so it can fire a few turns, or leave the NARC beacon up for something that's actually a scout. Now, unless this is the light mech, air quote once again, of your heavy star or assault star, and this is the guy that's going to be your eyes and ears and sending out NARC beacons for your other ammunition tossing mechs. And I definitely would want something that has carried ammunition so it can keep firing for a few turns, not just one shot and go, whoop, I missed, sorry, it's too bad. Not a big fan of that whole concept. Never have been. Alright, then we got the Gulf version. That's a Dark Age. It uses a supercharger. Okay. Improved heavy laser in each arm and target computer, and then a one-shot. Once again, we go one-shot streak for defense. It'd be a choice between a one-shot weapon and a... give me an ER medium laser. I'll take the ER medium laser all day. And then we got the H version. This linebacker has heavy lasers once again in the arms, and it's backed up by a pair of ER medium lasers and a single ER medium small laser, and 6 jump jets. All right, finally we got one that puts jump jets on it. Okay, yeah, you're dumping 6 tons of your 17.5. That kind of cuts down on what you can toss on it, but it's what it is. What it is. And if you want something that's a little bit more, personally, if I'm putting jump jets on a mech, I'd rather probably gone with like large pulse lasers or something of that nature, and backed up with some ER medium lasers, just because I want something that if I do jump, I kind of negate that jumping aspect of it to some extent, along with a good pilot. Configuration I. This one has an ER large pulse laser, and also has a machine gun array. Each arm has 2 machine guns with 2 machine gun arrays with 3 machine guns. Basically, this thing delves into is like, oh, you got a whole bunch of infantry. Let me just mow them down in droves. That's basically how this thing works out. But it's kind of an anti-infantry setup type of mech. And the T version, this one carries a plasma cannon with 2 tons of ammunition. It has a streak 4 in the left torso, while this has a streak. Now we're talking way down the line, because now we're talking about streak LRM 5s. And each missile launcher has a ton of ammunition and active probe for finding, and then it has a rear mounted flamer in the torso for adding fires, adding smoke, or doing a drive-by and giving some infantry a nice barbecue. And all that can be found with your typical battle value between 2,000 and, well, about 1,800 for some of these to, 2,600, somewhere in that range. So the battle value can vary. Now, typically, whenever I had this mech, to be honest with you, a lot of times what I would have done is just give it an ERPPC, a large pulse laser, a Streak 6. And this is the one configuration I always like to run with an ECM suite, and it has the ER small laser. So you got something that shoots out at longer ranges, and then when it gets in close, you still have a Streak for in close work for doing that crit hunting with that Streak 6. Some people are not a big fan of the Streaks, but I like them because you're going to get 6 times where, with a Streak 6, you're going to get 6 chances of either finding a hole in someone's armor or, getting a head hit or, just a random crit chance, through the mix. And it balances. It's like, I like the version that has the 2 ERPPCs, but it has that heat problem. And then if you convert one from an ERPPC to a large pulse laser, you're negating 5 of that heat problem, and you're also gaining something that's great for hitting scouts. So if you're facing off against Inner Sphere and you got say a Jenner or something that's ripping up the flank, trying to move fast, that large pulse laser is going to help you probably punch a hole through it someplace, or just connect at least once or twice. And if you connect, the 10 points is nothing to sneeze at when it comes to hitting a light mech. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the linebacker. It's not bad. It finds itself in a pretty good niche within the game. Depending on the configuration, there's a lot of different configurations for individuals that might fit how their play style, or if you want to take that 17.5 tons and adapt it to the situation. You might want something with a large pulse laser and then go with a bunch of medium pulse lasers because you want to go into the totally anti-scout role. So you see somebody rolling up the flank with some light mechs, and you're like, I'm going to try my best to get in your face and connect. And it has the armor to stand around for a while against light mechs like Inner Sphere mechs. And to be honest with you, there's been times when you see one of these coming at you, running up the flank, you might go, I'm not really sure I want to go up that direction because somebody's going to get hurt, and hurt bad quickly. But hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one. Hellcrex out.